Well, ahoy, crypto pirates. How's everybody doing? The Captain RG3 coming at you tonight with another episode of Chatting with the Captain. We're going to have a special guest from outside of our space, which I love bringing people in like this. First of all, you might want to go check out his YouTube. It's called The Money GPS. Gentleman's name is David. And I was watching some of his streams, and what I really like about him is, first of all, he's pleasant. He's easy to listen to, easy to look at, and he's got videos that are like the perfect amount of length. It's like, anywhere from sometimes 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. It's just boom, 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 macroeconomics, to the point, good stuff. Go check him out over there on Money GPS. We'll talk about it some more. But really liked what I saw over there. And we're going to probably talk a little macroeconomics. We're going to talk some crypto. We'll probably talk a little bit of politics and stuff, because that's the kind of guy he is. He's into the macroeconomics and political end of our finances. And that all fascinates me, especially being the old guy that's been around for a bunch of cycles and seen a bunch of this stuff. So let's get right down to it. I'm going to go ahead and bring up our guest, David. How's it going?
Doing good.
Good to have you, man. Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you. I can see the studio in the back with your ring lights and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So so you tell me you've been hammering this stuff out in the YouTube space since 2011, right?
Yes, I've been doing it a long time. Let me tell you.
Yes, you have.
And I've been doing these videos basically trying to highlight one point, and that is we must watch the central banks over everything else.
Okay.
Their activities are by far the most important thing for the prices of crypto, for the prices of homes, stocks, everything.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the biggest problem with the central banks, and why things are, I guess, as heightened or as messed up as they are?
Yeah, so they create a boom bust cycle, and they know that, and their whole agenda is not what they're telling you. They want to buy it all. They want to purchase all assets. You look, they had a $9 trillion balance sheet. They told everybody they're going to wind it down. They've gotten down about 500 billion. And already they're saying, pivot's coming, don't worry.
I think we're having a little trouble with your audio. Is his audio broken up? It sounds a little broken up.
If you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, but it's just breaking up a little bit.
I'm not sure. Maybe I could switch over to my other.
Yeah, if you got wireless, that might be what it is. Yeah, we're getting everybody saying in the chat room.
I come prepared.
There you go.
Let's see. Give me 1 second, please.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yep, we can hear you. Now you're gone. Oh, you may have to go into the StreamYard settings down there. See the bottom of the screen, the cog there, and then go to audio up on the top left there under camera, and then make sure you're switched to your audio device. Yeah, nothing on that device. No, somebody did say much better. So maybe your other device was coming in better after that. Bear with us, guys. I'm still here. Just getting his audio fixed.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
All right. Hopefully that's better.
Much better. Much better.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so back to the central banks.
So essentially, we have to watch what the central banks are doing, and this is more critical than anything else we can pay attention to. They are actively trying to buy up all assets. It's like people they do, for instance, China's buying all the farmland in the United States. We have to be aware of this. But right in their own backyard, the Federal Reserve, who everybody now not federal, they have, they're not your friend, and yet they're buying all the assets. This should be very concerning. But the only reason that people aren't freaking out is because, hey, if they print money, my stocks are going to go up, my real estate's going to go up, so I'm happy. But they don't realize that there's a darker agenda.
Now, when you say buying up assets, what do you mean by that? What is the data showing?
So they're buying up, at least what they confirm, they're buying up all of the bonds. They've bought corporate bonds previously. They were bailing out Apple. They were bailing out big institutions during.
So all the debt.
And we're not talking about small amounts here. We were talking about like billions and billions just went towards Apple buying their corporate bonds, even though they were sitting on $200 billion of cash. Like, it made no sense. Now they stopped that program, but they were up until recently buying up the treasuries of the United States and basically trying to support the system, even the mortgage-backed securities. There was the biggest bubble in history of real estate, and yet the Federal Reserve up until recently was still buying mortgage-backed securities. It made no sense unless you take it from a different angle and you actually trying to own everything.
Now, what would be so they're buying all this debt. I mean, we know that like the U.S.'s biggest export is really our debt, right? Is this where this is coming from?
Well, they've been doing this a long time, particularly since the financial crisis. And I really don't know how far they're going to take it. And there's many reasons for it. We can speculate, but ultimately they're trying to stabilize markets. That's what they're doing.
Okay. And I mean, that's technically that's their job, is to try and stabilize the markets, right? I mean, well, that's what they're in position for, right?
I can tell you that that's not what they're supposed to be here for. Price stability and full employment. They're not supposed to impact the markets. In fact, they say we don't care what the markets. Jerome Powell has said we do not care what happens with the markets. But we know that they do. But that's the claim. So they want price stability, and can you believe it? They created the biggest bubbles we've ever seen in history.
So, okay. So we've got, well, we've always had an issue with this, and we've seen that recently they've been, like you said, purchasing a lot of debt, wanting to own a lot of assets. And in turn, that is affecting the market, which they're not supposed to be doing. When I look at these situations and we pour gasoline on the fire and it goes, when we're all flamed up about this stuff, I look for the solutions. Like if we can't take it to them and have them fix this issue, obviously we've got deeper issues here with our electoral system in order to get anything done. That is something that's like way out of touch. So what do we do? What do we do as normal citizens, as hardworking everyday Americans? I mean, I'm a YouTuber now in the crypto space, but I worked for 30 years as a millwright. I was a worker. I got up every morning at 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I went to work. I worked all day, sometimes 14, sometimes 16 hours. My wife raised the kids. I was gone on weekends so that we can support our family. So I'm one of those regular, normal guys. And then when I see all this stuff and I'm interested in it because I know that it affects me and my family, what does a guy like me do? Do I have to pivot so that I can be in the right position? Or is there something bigger that we can all do to combat this situation or try and bring awareness to it? Because all I see is people, gaslighting and saying, oh, the sky is falling, but I don't see anybody with any damn solutions, or telling everybody, what is it that we should be doing? How should we be pivoting to to actually move with this and take ourselves in the right direction?
Well, I think it's important that we hold real assets. That's the number one factor. I think that
Real estate, gas and
people,
oil, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, real estate is fantastic.
Commodities.
Precious metals are fantastic. Anything that has a tangible value, including business. Having your own business is very important. So these things here are, most people don't, because they have their Robinhood account and they buy a couple stocks and that's about it. But we have to maintain value over long periods of time and real assets do that. That's why the rich people, they've got money sitting there that they put in the bank, that they put in a mutual fund, or do they buy fine art? Do they buy, precious metals, collectibles, collectible cars, these things that you and I, we're just not even part of that world because it's, $40 million for whatever they're purchasing. That's how they make the value. But we can hold different things that are real assets that are so expensive. And for a lot of people, we have to do, I call it the 2 pillars of prosperity. Number one is increasing your income. And the second pillar is self-sufficiency or preparation. And so that means having your own garden. That means, having these preparations in place, not quite a prepper necessarily, but being prepared. Mm-hmm. And income side, you want your own business, you want assets that pay you monthly, because right now with inflation, we're just getting eaten at. Mm-hmm. And it's not a good sign because it looks like they want to create more inflation. So these are the things that I think about all the time and bring to people all the time regularly. If people, if you're trying to find information about it online, it's very difficult because a lot of the YouTubers are there for the clicks. They're there because they want to sell you a program. Mm-hmm. Hey, follow me and you get to learn all my different stock trades. They're not there to help people. So it's unwise, but that's what.
So why are you in it? So why are you in it? What's in it for you? What floats your boat? What makes you happy about this?
I get very upset when I see something in the media and it's untrue, and I see people that are like sheep, just simply following along with everybody else. It just upsets me internally. So I try to just show what the reality is. That's all I'm doing. Just showing the reality. Now, if nobody tunes in, I've been making these videos for 11 years. It doesn't really matter. If people are going to tune in, that's great. They're going to learn. But you're going to learn about the alternative to the mainstream. Very few people are actually alternative to the mainstream. Mm-hmm. Very few.
It seems like there's a lot in this space. We have a lot of alternative to the mainstream in this space. Everybody in pretty much in the crypto space is, we border from, conspiracy theory crazies to, people who just understand what's really going on out there, versus mainstream media.
I should have put that caveat in there that the crypto space is a different world. But in my sort of space, certainly they're not much of a alternative option. Let's just say.
Traditional finance folks are, like Wall Street Journal, what's going on in the markets, blah, blah, blah. Anything that they read on the opinion page is about as far as they get. I gotcha. But in the crypto space, these people are out. My folks in the chat room, they're out there scouring, the web, scouring, the YouTubes and everything else that's out there for as much information as they can possibly get. And then, of course, I like to tell people that reading is important and getting out there and reading as much as they can get as far as empirical data from different websites. And what's your take on that? Like government websites with data, do you use those sites? Because that's where most of it comes from. Do you use those sites and trust those sites to give you the data that you're looking for when you do your analysis?
I do. And the reason I do is because the markets move based on this data. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't necessarily,
whether or not the data is right or not, the markets are still going to go with it, exactly, because that's the data they're using.
That's right. If inflation comes down, they show it's gone down 2.2%. The market moves on that.
Yeah.
Jobs are affected by that because the companies are going to say, "Oh, inflation is down or inflation's going up. We're going to fire, we're going to hire, or whatever." So even if it's not true, it's still important. So I do look at that. But we have alternative measures of all these different things anyway. People like John Williams, Shadow Stats, he recalculates all that. You can see it in different places. There are different calculations of anything, but the mainstream ones are still important to watch.
Mm-hmm. Right. So take me back a little bit about yourself before we get too deep into the markets. What got you involved? If you don't mind telling us, a little bit about who you are. You married, kids. You've been in this business for a long time. What do you do? What do you do? How did you get in?
This all started with me reading Austrian economics books.
Okay.
Just devoured it. Actually, just above this is all books, but I just devoured the information. I went from being so ignorant, reading the typical Bloomberg and reading the typical books that you'd find, and then I just went deep into this Austrian economics, and then there was like a whole new world for me. So that's really where it began. Then I started making the videos. Actually, I should say my first book was written as a result of reading all these different books. And then I was like trying to tell people that I knew, oh, you got to look at what's going on with the economy. You got to understand what's happening with the markets. This was like, more than 10 years ago, and nobody cared. So then that's kind of where the YouTube channel came from. Like, if I can't tell the people close to me about this stuff because they don't care, somebody out there cares. So that's kind of where it started, really. And then I went off into reading all kinds of stuff, health-related stuff that you can't say on YouTube. Yeah, I won't talk about that, but yeah. 2020 related stuff. And I was reading about that many years ago. And I was doing videos about it. Bill Gates, all these different things, like way before it was. Now it's sort of trendy. And I wish I didn't post that stuff, to be honest, because it just spooked a lot of people. But anyway, that's where we're at. And
what? No, go ahead.
I just read so much. Like, to me, reading is one of my most favorite things to do.
Mm-hmm. And as far as your personal life, married, kids, work, job, business, or is it all YouTube now, or what is it?
Yeah, so I have multiple businesses that I operate. I work a lot, to be honest with you. 7 days a week, 365. I've always enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed to work as much as possible. I used to work 3 jobs. I used to work for a financial company. And then I would leave there and go work a side job. And then I would come home and I would make videos. This was in the early days. So it was just nonstop, literally the morning until the night, and the transport in between. I'd have audiobooks in my ears, just jamming it in. And then now I operate multiple businesses. I have a business in e-commerce, which I've talked about online. I don't share everything about myself online, but one of the things I've talked about is that I do e-commerce. And so I teach that as well. I have a playlist on my YouTube channel for people to learn about how to sell on Amazon. I think it's really important. Part of what I talked about with the pillars of prosperity is that people should learn how to geographically diversify their income. So you, in your example, you're working at this one location, let's say. Well, what if your circumstances around that area suddenly Detroit? Let's just take Detroit. You're in Detroit when 20 years ago, even car companies are leaving, economy's going down. These things affect you. But if you're selling, for instance, to somebody in Europe, you're selling to somebody in Australia, it doesn't matter what's going on necessarily around you because you have different options. So for a lot of people, they need to be aware of where their income is coming from. And that's the type of thing that I teach with e-commerce, because you're opening yourself up to the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Giving yourself multiple income streams. And like you said, making a global presence versus keeping yourself stuck in one spot.
That's right.
Makes sense. That's what I always tried to do. You know, I would work, you know, my 14-hour day, and then I had to have something on the side that was making money while I was sleeping, you know, right. in order to make ends meet. You know, that's how I got involved in all of this too, was, you know, had to have multiple streams of income. That's what somebody taught me years ago. You know, you want that monthly income coming in, whether it's real estate or a side business or whatever. I saw the whole Amazon craze start and go and kind of pass me up. I was busy doing other things, but that seems to be a very lucrative business. Is it still a lucrative business for people, or is it harder to break into now? Or
it's easier because they cut down a lot of what they call black hat type of stuff, like all the cheating that people would do. A lot of that's been shut down. You got to do it right. So there's like nonsense videos that you'll see online. Click, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
It's all good. I've been putting money into that business since 2017. I've never taken a penny out. I've never taken a penny for myself, because it just reinvested 100% of that capital. Because what happens is, unlike, for instance, you know, a YouTube channel, there's no value in selling the YouTube channel if you're the face. However, if you have a brand that's available on Amazon, there are companies out there, like if you know LVMH, one of the biggest companies in the world, they have a financing arm. One of their jobs is to find Amazon companies to buy so they can just get the cash flow. So there's just money, just billions of dollars just being spent buying up Amazon businesses. So you build it up, you don't take anything from it, and then one day you take a payday. Like, it's really interesting.
Makes sense. No, our crypto space is kind of like that. You know, there's been a lot of you know, chatter lately about what has happened with FTX. But when we started with Hex, that's what Hex was supposed to be, was that place that you can store your value with your own keys. You hold on to it. Nobody can get to you. You don't give custody away to somebody else like FTX and allow them to, you know, pay you yield. So that's what that's the type of mindset that's in this community that watches this stream and listens to what people are coming on here talking about. So it fits right in with our narrative. Very interesting. What else are you having folks diversify into?
Well, it really depends on their personal circumstances, how much money they have, where is all their money. Like, I know some people that just do gold and silver, and it's so risky.
Now, what do you think about gold and silver? I mean, let's look at gold's price 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and look at gold's price today. What do you think about that?
So the way I look at it is, gold should be part of everybody's portfolio, but it's the percentage. So if you look at cultures of the East, they're giving out coins, high carat jewelry, weddings, like big celebrations. They don't necessarily look at the price. They're just keeping value within the families. They're giving each other these things, but it's still a small percentage of their total, like, portfolio, if you want to look at that.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, they're just too much into anything. If someone puts too much into one thing, I never like that.
Yeah.
Now, for myself, I just think diversification over a long period, like if you're looking at decades, you always win by being diversified. Short term, probably not, but over a long term, you do, because, you know, risk parity. If you look at Ray Dalio, he talks about risk parity. And there's always going to be times which one is doing better, one's not doing as good. And so over those decades, you spread that out, and you can, you know, hold on to your value. What does Warren Buffett say? Warren Buffett says, never lose money. Never lose money. That's how you make money over long term.
That's one of the things
I would
that
love to talk about crypto space as well. I
and
made
this-
a big mistake.
oh, you missed the crypto space.
So that's worse than that.
Oh boy.
I heard about crypto really early, earlier than most people. And I think it was Max Kaiser in like 2010, 2011.
Mhm.
And I'm hearing him talk about Bitcoin. And I was like, this is ridiculous. What's this? He's saying this is going to be the new currency reserve. I was like, what are you talking about, buddy? This is crazy. Then
He's still saying that, by the way.
What's that?
He's still saying that, by the way.
Yeah. So then I have my subscribers they say, I want to give you Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't know what a bit is. I don't want this coin. I'm not interested. So I fought it off. I said, no, I'm not going to put a donation either. Like, just put a donation link. And I said, no, I don't want donations. So this was many years ago. And then there was a way that I forget the name of it, but if the person had a YouTube channel, people could donate crypto to that YouTube channel without them even knowing. So they just started throwing what was at the time, I'm sure, pennies. But of course, it grew. And I never cared. I never cared about it. Then years later, I watched the video and I also read the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, and I instantly changed. Like if I would have just spent 10 minutes looking at it, I would have been a different world by now. I'd be on my yacht.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I was introduced to the Bitcoin in the early days before 2010, before it even launched. People were trying to sell me cryptocurrencies in a gaming application that I was putting together. And I blew it off. I said, oh, it's glorified PayPal, just garbage. It's, whatever. It's never going to take. And then about 2014, somebody asked me for some, and I'd send it to them and whatever. Sure, you guys want some of that crypto stuff? Okay, here you go. I said, got the wallet, set it all up, and it was a real pain in the ass, and I sent it over to them. And then a few months later, it was like the beginning of 2015. Somebody else asked me for some. I'm like, oh, that crypto thing again. So I opened up the wallet, and what was like $35 and change was now $800. And I was like, well, wait a second. And then that's when I sat down and read the white paper, and I was just like you. It was like, wait a second. This is everything that they said. It could be everything that they said it could be. Yeah. And that's when I started following the space too. And then, here we are today, life-changing wealth and whatnot, just in a couple of seasons. So yeah, it's definitely going to be the biggest exchange of wealth that the globe has ever seen. I'm almost certain of it. Just because what it means to the future of technology and finance, I think that, and I don't know who's going to usurp it or where it's going to end up. I think that's like the biggest question right now is, are the governments going to seize it and take over and utilize the technology and force us all into it? Is the independent, libertarian-like group of people that, originated this going to be able to be the ones that bring it to the world, or, what's it going to look like? That's the only variable that I don't know yet. I just know that cryptocurrency is here to stay. It's not going away, and it's going to be, part of our lives in the future. Just don't know where it's going to come from.
If you
how
look
much
at
of it we're going to get to keep.
Well, first of all, central bank digital currencies are coming, whether they're ready or not. They're coming. So I don't see them as a competitor to the private coins. But there's going to be heavy regulation. And while we can keep our cryptos inside the crypto space, when we want to off-ramp, that's when we run into the problems of regulation. So they're going to regulate all of the, the exchanges and stuff. And that's where most of the money is, Coinbase and all these things. Look at what happened with something like FTX. I mean, that spooks people. Yeah. Because they tell you it's safe, it's fine. Yeah, don't worry, you can earn 8% out of thin air. Everything's legit, don't worry. And then it scares people. But in general, I mean, look at what's happened with crypto and how that alone has generated a boom in Dubai, partially. It's partially responsible, where people are just taking their crypto and they're just buying a place in Dubai and they're living there. I mean, something like that didn't happen before. It wasn't something just comes up and you have a whole migration of people moving to a different country. It has created a lot of opportunities. And if somebody just reads that first sentence of the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, that alone, to paraphrase, a peer-to-peer transaction without a financial institution, like that alone should make people say,
sign me up.
Like, I'm interested. Maybe I don't want to put all my money in it.
Yeah.
But I'm interested.
So you've been doing your homework. You've been researching, and because I mean, let's face it, 99% of the cryptos out there are garbage. And only a few of them have like Bitcoin, proof to concept that yes, that peer-to-peer transaction can happen outside of the banking system securely over the internet without any intermediary. Then Ethereum came out and said, hey, we can program this stuff to do cool stuff, to be better money. And then nobody's done it until the crypto that we are all supporting, which is Hex, came out. And then now we finally have an immutable crypto that actually pays you yield or pays you inflation of the coin just for holding and staking it. And the staking mechanism is operated by you. And that's what we were all looking for, because, like you, we read the white paper and it's like, yes, better money. Yes, Ethereum, programmable money. But who's going to program something that actually works versus what all these exchanges were doing, which was, here, give us your money. Let us hold on to it. Just like the bank. I mean, you probably know this, and I say this all the time on my shows. There's nothing new under the sun. Every shell game that's ever been played from the beginning of time until now is the same shell games that all of these financial crooks have always been playing. Let me take your money. I'll get some more money and try and appease you all. And then the more and more your money I get, I'm going to try and leverage it somewhere. I'm going to gamble with it. I'm going to do something else with it, or I'm just going to run off with it, and it's the same game that they've always been playing. And here we are again. We've got this money that could possibly be perfect money. And everybody got talked into using an intermediary. Everybody got talked into giving their keys and their crypto away to somebody else, and forgot all the tenets of what that first white paper that we read. It's like, we can do it outside of central banks, but let's make a central bank type of entity within the crypto space itself, and you guys trust them instead. It's like, no.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
We have to be smart about this, and that's why I always talk about diversification. You see, if somebody put some of their money, 10% of their crypto, into FTX, well, it burns. All right. But a lot of people just threw it all in there. They said, I'm going to make back this cash. It's going to be fantastic. It's just paying me. I would hear all these people that are not in the crypto space, but they're saying they're investing in crypto, and really what they were doing was putting it in BlockFi or FTX, somehow earning that yield and thinking that was going to be forever and ever. And all it took was for one day, oh yeah, everything's fine. The next day, all their money's gone. So these type of things can happen to anybody, anywhere. That's why diversification is important. You can have don't think of diversification means you got to own a farm with cattle on it. You have to own, a place in Australia. You got to, even within a particular asset class, you can have diversification, and geographic diversification is important, and different things, right? So just be smart about that. I think that over a long period of time, you realize that's the right way to go.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to look for a crypto or make a crypto yourself, what would it look like? What would you like to see a crypto do?
I would want it to be anonymous. That would be important for me.
Immutable, you
just
mean the
because
code immutable?
The one factor that we need, like, to be honest with you, you can use crypto, right? Or you can use your regular traditional banks.
Oh, you're talking about transactions.
Yes.
Anonymous transactions. Okay.
Yes. When I transact between you and I, nobody else should know. Nobody in my family, nobody in the government, nobody should be able to know.
Yeah.
So
and I shouldn't be, as a recipient of payment from you, I shouldn't be able to look at your wallet and tell exactly how much you have and who else you've given money to. I mean, it just, that makes no sense. That makes no sense.
I feel that that's a weird, I don't want to call it Trojan horse or something, but I don't know the term. Like, it's just strange to me that
people think it's an anonymity, but there's zero anonymity in crypto. Zero.
Oh, yeah. People say that they use crypto for illegal transactions. I don't know who's, like, Janet Yellen says that. Nobody does that. Why would you? Every single thing is just documented for you. It's making it so easy for the government or whoever's tracking you to figure it out.
Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, I went over here and got gas. I got some donuts for the kids, and and I bought some heroin off of this site over here and last week. You know, it's like it doesn't make any sense. And then for them to ban and abolish or make illegal things like Tornado Cash, which helps you to actually mask those transactions, you know, and they made that, you know, anybody who's used Tornado Cash, your wallet is shut down. You know, nobody transacts. Yeah, Tornado Cash was a mixer, I guess they call it. So your transaction goes in, chit comes out, and then anybody can take that chit and use that chit to draw the funds out of the Tornado Cash app. And it was immutable. It was really a good way to do that. Like, I mean, if you're an employer and you're paying your employees, you don't want all your employees to see how much you're paying this guy and that guy and the other guy. I mean, we need things like mixers. And now, I understand they worry about the money laundering thing, but I mean, I think that it just like cash, they have safeguards and investigative tools that they can use to see where big cash is going. If there's, you know, high dollar amounts going to Russia or to a Middle Eastern, you know, terrorist organization or something to that nature. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be working on, not looking at a guy like me and whether or not I'm doing a $1,000 transaction here or a $10,000 transaction there. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be looking for. But
your government has said that they're going to track everything over $600 coming through PayPal and all of this.
That was, I think that was a knee-jerk reaction. I don't understand that at all. $600. I mean, what is that all about?
But if you remember Operation Fast and Furious, this is like going back like 10 years.
Yeah.
They were bringing the guns up. I think it was guns bringing them from Mexico into the U.S. And then they were found out, oh, actually Wells Fargo was doing all the transactions, and they didn't realize it was all part of this. And
then nothing. Same with, you know, taking it way back. Iran Contra, you know, I mean, same shell game that the governments were playing, you know, switching shit around, and they were the ones doing it, not, you know, Joe Citizen. And that's what I mean by, you know, we can gaslight these things and say, the government, but we can't change it. And unless we get the power of the people behind it. And with Citizens United, I don't think that we have any power anymore, period, as human beings, as individuals. I think that it's going to be very hard. They've done so much to divide everybody, that bringing everybody together against what's really going on out there, I think, is almost impossible with the safeguards that they've put in place. Mainly, I think Citizens United is the biggest problem that we as citizens of this country face, because we can't change things. You know, it's all about the money. It's all about the lobby powers. And even our laws aren't written by the people that we put in power. People that we put in power are getting the information from the lobbyists, and they're putting it up on the board and saying, here it is, you know. And it's just what's the solution to, or what's the pivot, I guess? How do we react to all this, and how do we, get around what they're doing to us?
First thing, where you live may not be conducive to what you desire. So if you're not like in the laws that are in California, I understand that maybe your family's there, maybe your friends are there, but maybe that's not the best place for you. Some of these islands, these Caribbean islands, have been so crypto friendly. And they've said, come, you're not going to get taxed on it. You're not going to have to do anything. We're going to give you a residency. Why? That's friendly. That's friendly. They're saying, come this way. We're going to take care of you. And so the line from Nomad Capitalist, he says, go where you're treated best. And that's the first thing. I understand that people have traditions and things that based on where they live, but sometimes things change. If Detroit was going down, and there's no jobs and the crime's going up and everything, do you really want to stay? I understand as the captain, maybe you want to go down thinking with
the ship.
Yeah. But,
well, I'm a little older than most. I'm, but and it's hard to a zebra. I'm a zebra. It's hard to change my stripes. And I'm I'm married. I have kids, and I did look into the island living. Hauled them all down there and said, hey, look, we got zero taxes out here. Let's look at this paradise. And they all looked at me like, you're crazy. We ain't leaving. We ain't coming out here. I ain't raising my kids out here, yada, yada, yada. So I was like, okay. So and some of our situations, but I'm with you. I mean, if go where you're appreciated, go where you're treated best. And especially if you're young, if you're single, or if you have a spouse and that's up for an adventure and going somewhere else, then I say the same thing, because, like, for instance, California is not one of the most, friendly states to people with money. And it's hard to survive here. The cost of living is, extremely high. You have to have 2 to 3 incomes, in order to survive out here. And yeah, that's where I'm from. But it's not for everyone. But so that's number one. What would be number two?
With your investments, you got to be honest with yourself. Like, how much do you have in any particular one type of asset, and what is your goal? For some people, like most people, they think maximum appreciation is the only goal, but that shouldn't be the case. For some people, just maintaining their wealth is all they need. I've got a friend who's wealthy, that he's making a lot of money trading and his businesses. And he told me, I just need to preserve at this point. So his goals are different than other people, that they're trying to accumulate more. Maybe you've got bills to pay and you have all your assets to pay those bills. You have different goals. It's a different thing. I love cash flow. Cash flow is something I learned from Robert Kiyosaki many years ago. And I think it's extremely important, because God forbid tomorrow you can't work. You got a health problem. Or how many times you hear about a husband and wife, one of the people, they become sick, and the other person can't work anymore because he has to be the caretaker to the other. Happens all the time, unfortunately. So you think, oh, I'm going to be working until I'm 70, I'm strong, I'm healthy, but maybe the person you have to take care of needs you. And so you can work. That cash flow is getting paid when you need it in those hard times. So it really all depends on your circumstances. So you got to look at it. What are my goals? And address that. If you want something that maintains and preserves wealth over long periods, you want cash flow, maybe real estate is for you. And real estate comes in all different forms. You don't have to think of real estate just as like you buy a house, rent it out. Other people do what they call house hacking, where maybe they live in the basement, or they rent out the basement, or they split their house in 2-3 units. Now their rent is being paid for, their mortgage is being paid for. Different ways to do that. You can have I don't talk about this often. People who read my second book, storage lockers are so key. If you live in a condo, you can rent out your storage locker, and oftentimes you can be getting $100 a month from one storage locker, and there's no worry about tenants. There's no nothing. That's one that you can put a couple grand in, and you could be getting $100 a month every single month, just like that. These things are overlooked, but that's one aspect of real estate. Parking spots, all kinds of stuff. Did you know that there are some parking spots, like in Toronto, they'll go for 100 grand, 100 grand. So imagine what monthly income people would make off that. Maybe you don't need that spot, or maybe buy a second spot. That's an asset. You could rent that out. So a lot of options with real estate. That's your assets. And just preparedness. Like, if the power goes out tomorrow, does it matter how much wealth you have? No, you do whatever you can to get that power back on. You start worrying, well, what about all that food I got in the freezer? It's going to go bad. In California, they want to tell people they can't have gas stoves. The electricity's out. All kinds of things that we need to have those preparations in place. We can't always worry about maximum appreciation, because there are times in which the lights go out, and we got to be ready for that. It's going to happen. The next wars will be a cyber war.
Yeah.
They're going to hit the energy grid, and it's going to take people out of commission.
Yeah. Well, look what a couple of guys with some semi-automatic rifles have been able to do just by shooting at the power grid. I mean, they've already shut down some serious, towns. So let me jump back to crypto real quick. I asked you a question. What would you like to see a crypto look like? And you gave, one answer, which was it needs to be anonymous, meaning that the transactions need to be anonymous. I think that's something that maybe a crypto itself can't deliver. That's something that's an externality within the system that needs to be put in place, because blockchain is blockchain. They're transparent. You know what I mean? So somehow with the wallet system, or somehow there needs to be an application that we can actually go in and mix or make our transactions anonymous. But what else would you like to see in a crypto?
Basically all crypto. Like, if anybody, I always see this complaint: Bitcoin is too slow and Bitcoin is too expensive to transact. I send money international through traditional means. It's expensive. Conversion rates are expensive. The traditional method of transaction is so slow. It takes 3 days. The bank is putting it on hold. I need that money now. I need it now. I don't need it in 3 days. I need the money to get to the people that, for example, my supplier. I'm sending money international. I want it there today. Yeah, it'll go, but it's a weekend. They don't do business on the weekend. So it'll be there on Monday. Like, these type of things are just we're in 2023.
Yeah. 2023, and we still have to deal with holidays and Sunday.
Ridiculous.
And I mean, not in the crypto space, of course. I mean, we could transact any time that we'd like. We can do it, as far as we'd like. It doesn't matter if it's here or on the other side of the world. It's, it's the same charge for the transaction, whether it's, a wallet over there or over here. It doesn't matter. So yeah, what else would you like to see?
I would love to see stability in the actual price, because if I'm going to keep money in it, like, for instance, if we're doing a deal and we agree that I'm going to do business for you at equivalent of whatever, let's just say 1,000, whatever units it is, that's going to fluctuate.
Yeah, like within that hour, they send it over to somebody and like, hey, you didn't send me enough, or thanks for the tip.
Yeah. So do we transact in the equivalent to, for instance, the equivalent of $1,000? What about the value of the US dollar? Is that fluctuating too? Like, we need some sort of anchor. So that's kind of something that I always wondered about. Because,
well, dig into this with me then, since you're a Austrian taught financial guru. Let's look at the market. Let's go back and look at all the markets, and let's look at Bitcoin's market or crypto's market, and let's look at it historically. The volatility right now, in my opinion, the volatility is, well, there are externalities that I can add to this, but because it is such a new space, because it can be affected quickly by money coming into the system, because it is such a small piece of the financial puzzle that's out there. I mean, it's like 2%, if that, of the global finance. So it moves very radically. So would you say that that's where we're at? We're in a new market, and it just is going to need time to mature. I mean, on top of, we've got a whole different type of mentality that's coming into this market versus the market before. Because you spoke of Warren Buffett and the time value of money and all of these things that you and I were taught, at a younger age, that, hey, this is how you invest. This is how you prepare for the future. This is what your money should look like. Where in today's, crypto space, it's like, I want the money. I want it now. I want that next trade. I want to become the next Bitcoin millionaire. Where's it at? What am I looking for? How do I find it? What chart is going to show me how to make this quick money, versus the long term, and how do you see that as kind of like where this market is that it's in the early stages of say, like, the early markets of the traditional finance world, and that's why we're seeing volatility?
Yeah, there's just so much, it's so new, right? And a lot of people are just purely speculating on a lot of these coins. It's just money just going in on Dogecoin and Shiba, whatever. It's nonsense. Like, there's good coins that have real practical value, and yet people are pouring billions into the wrong thing. That's my opinion.
Yes.
Of course, everybody has the freedom to do that.
Mm-hmm. But just like we saw with the .coms, right? I mean, everybody was pouring money into pets.com, was like, and then where did that end up,
The best thing that could happen to crypto is that a lot of cryptos fail. That's the best thing that could happen. As many as possible, in fact.
But they have, and some of them have been failing for like 6, 7, 8 years. They've been failing, and people are still buying them. They're still buying them with promises that it's going to get better. Like, this is the slowest moving tech space I've ever seen in my life. No tech, not even toasters, have taken this long to improve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, why is the most high tech product in the world taking so long to get right? Because there are literally coins out there, I won't mention their names, or blockchains out there that still don't work after like 6, 7 years. And you don't ever see that in tech. Like, if your stuff doesn't work like year one, or by the time you come out with your second product, you're done. Get out of here. Move over. Next, who's got the better tech, and this space though.
There's billions being put in. It's called a misallocation of capital. The billions are going into Dogecoin and Shiba instead of being put into the better coins. So the more funding that they have, the more advanced they can get. And I don't know if there's much of an incentive for them to create a better coin. Like, a lot of these people who are, like, maybe some people, like I think of like Vitalik or whatever, maybe he has an incentive to create a really good project. But most of the people that are mining Bitcoin, let's say, they're probably just in it for profit.
Yeah.
So
no, and you're right. That's what it is. It's all about profit and what they think is going to go up next. Because, we have been with a project and we watched it develop for 3 years. We launched it for the last 3 years, and it's been working flawlessly since the day it launched. Absolutely perfect. Everything that it said it was going to do, it did. Immutable. The whole thing has just absolutely been perfect. But guess what? It's got the most pushback of anything in crypto. It's the most hated coin in crypto. It's insane to see that. Actually, it's like, well, wait a minute, guys. We've been watching all of these horrible things for a long time, and then finally we found something good, and nobody wants to take a look at it. Nobody wants to be part of it. What's going on here? And this space just confounds me. It's insane what goes on in this space, and I think that it has to do with people who are uneducated financially. We have a lot of that in this space. We have a lot of tech people, but they don't understand finance. They don't understand history and real market cycles. Not, hey, it's going to pump in 3 months and it's going to dump in another month. I'm talking about real 10, 20, 30-year market cycles where you can actually see real data and follow real things and trade on that, versus these people are looking at charts today like they mean something, like literally like they mean something. You're talking about people, pumping and dumping these garbage coins like SHIB and all this stuff. And how are you supposed to read a chart on that and say, I'm going to make an informed decision here, and this is how I'm going to trade this, I mean, obviously it's for day traders, but
I can tell your viewers, actually, if you want to make money in the crypto space, and I'm giving generalizations here, there's something that I call, and I didn't necessarily invent this pattern, but I call it the money mirror method. And essentially what we got to do is you got to pay attention to the amount of money that's being printed or being removed by the central banks. And you compare that to any asset. You can look at the stock market index, for example. When they're ready to print, when they reduce interest rates, this creates kind of an incentive, or you can think of it like a fire being lit under your behind, to put money into risk assets. Crypto is considered in the financial world as a risk asset. So the next time the Federal Reserve is what they call the pivot, when they flip and now they're going to start printing more money, this is a very good indication that you will see prices go higher. There's always fluctuations, and one coin might be doing this and one, but that's the general flow of things. Pay attention to the central bank balance sheets, and then look at specifically what's going on with risk assets.
Now, is that pivot at a 0% move, or is that pivot at a lower move than the one before, or is that pivot got to be a complete 180 where they're actually raising the interest rate?
Yeah, it just means they're flipping from, right now they're in a tightening cycle.
Yeah, so 20, whether they've been 25 basis points they've been going or something like that.
Percentage doesn't matter. None of that is a factor. It's simply, are we in a tightening or are we in an easing? That's it.
So as soon as we're looking at an easing, that's when you think that things should start to heat up with risk assets.
100%. They're already doing it under the assumption that the Federal Reserve later this year is going to start cutting interest rates.
Yeah.
And yet, Christine Lagarde in Europe, Jerome Powell in the US, they've all said, we've got to keep this tight for a while. So the market's just calling this bluff and just saying, no, you're not. So they're trying to get ahead of the game. I don't know. But as soon as they do go for that, risk on.
Like it. Well, great. Well, let's let everybody know where they can find you. Let me see if he's got it. There it is.
Yeah.
There's the Money GPS. That's on your channel. Anything else you'd like to throw out there, Shiel?
For sure. YouTube, Money GPS, Twitter. Every day I post multiple times on Twitter. That's my new favorite social media. Twitter. It's become pretty good, actually, and
yeah, we like it.
Yeah.
Have you been into the spaces yet? The Twitter spaces?
A few.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send you some invites to some of the spaces that we have. I mean, I'm really digging on the spaces because get some really good conversations going in those things. And
I actually saw a space with Elon Musk, and he was talking to other engineers that work there, and they were openly discussing even the names of the servers and everything, and the problems that they were having. And they were basically having a work meeting, and everybody could listen to it in like an open source work meeting. It was
That's
really
cool. That is cool. Right on. Well, David, thanks. I appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll have to get you another time, get an update. You and I run in the same circles, it seems. I've been to a lot of the Robert Kiyosaki events and whatnot. Those are some of my friends. Actually, I'm going out to visit a bunch of the syndication guys out in Louisiana next month. So I'm going to go hang out with them and do some crypto talks for them. But yeah, really nice meeting you. Thanks for coming on. And if you don't mind, stick around in the green room for just a minute, and then I appreciate it. All right, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday with me and Famous doing the DeFi Syndicate. And don't forget FN Hangout on Friday night. We'll see you there.